Welcome to TB Collects. This is Tyler, and thank you for tuning in to another TB Talks with my guest. Today is Adam from Comic Bound. How you doing, Adam?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Awesome. We have met through some other YouTubers and chatted, kind of behind the scenes, and we both participated in Shane's quiz at Dawn of Comics, who was my last guest, and you won. You were victorious, and you did much better.
I was just as shocked as everyone else was. I don't even read comics, so
that was the best part. At the beginning, you introduced yourself, and you're like, "I don't even read comics," and I came in last, and you came in first. So congratulations.
No, thank you, and congratulations on your last place, because that was my backup plan. If I was doing badly, I either wanted to be first or dead last. So I would have been fighting you for that one if it hadn't
exactly.
gone so well.
I mean, I tried to catch Dean, but he had just a few too many questions right. So if you guys haven't checked it out, check out Shane's quizzes. They're a lot of fun. There's a bunch of people from the community, and Adam's gonna have to come back and defend his title now, because Phil's pretty angry, I think.
I'm a bit nervous about that one. He does seem to be gunning for me now, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, it'll be all right. So if you haven't watched this show before, this is an interview show where I have a guest on and we try and hang out and real casual, just answer some questions about how you got into collecting, what you collect, that kind of stuff. And before we get into that, let's see, we got a couple people already in the comments. Let's see, we got Mad Dog, woof woof. You got this, CB? Yeah, that's one of your good friends, Marcus, right? We got Andy from Special Comics. Meow meow. What's up, people? I think this is Joachim. Is that correct?
Joachim. Yeah.
How's it going? And we have Comics versus the World. Have a good show, guys. I'll catch up with the replay tomorrow. Awesome. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. As I've said before, we're just kind of hanging out and trying to get to know people here. And this is something that I've always wanted to do, and I think the first show went okay. I mean, it wasn't a horrible dumpster fire as I expected it, and it was a lot of fun. So just starting out, like I said, Adam, are you in London or somewhere else?
Oh, no. I live in a different city. It's like in the middle of England. It's not a massive city. It's in the Midlands. And nowhere near the size of London.
Basically. Okay. And did you grow up there in the city that you
live in? I was born here. I've lived here like most of my life. Literally didn't even, like most people, kind of move away to a different city and go to uni, but I stayed here. Okay. So the only time I ever moved away is I lived in Australia for about a year. I'm half Australian.
Really?
My mum's Australian. So I kind of lived there for a little bit, and I go back for holidays and that kind of thing. But other than that, it's the only city I've ever lived in. So.
How was living in Australia? Was that interesting?
I love it there. I mean, I don't really travel, so I'm not one to compare it to like other different places I've been, but it's really cool. Like it's kind of all the best things about being in a different country, but still with the comforts of home. Like they speak English and that kind of thing. It makes it a lot easier. So
I would love to go to Australia. That's on the bucket list for me, for sure. Where were you at? What city in Australia?
Sydney, mainly, kind of around Sydney. My mum lives about an hour out of Sydney, but she works in the middle of Sydney as well. So it's kind of like an Australian distance that's like pretty close. So
awesome. Australia is, I talk with my wife about it. And that's one of the things we talk about. She's like, they have scary bugs and spiders and all kinds of snakes and stuff. I was like, there's scary stuff here too.
You
You
have
know,
that
I
there,
mean,
right?
we
Yeah.
have them, but you know, she sees all the videos of like the massive spiders that are, you know, everywhere, and that there's like snakes coming up out of toilets, and I'm like,
Yeah.
any of that could happen anywhere. I mean, we went camping last fall in the Rockies down in Tennessee, and we saw a black bear come up like literally onto the deck of and just
Wow.
walk around, and then it just was sniffing, and we were like, lock the doors, and like it was crazy scary, because we're like, if this bear gets into our cabin, what are we really gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do against a black bear? Nothing.
I mean, you say that, but I was literally reading something the other day that tells you exactly what to do when you're faced with a black bear.
What did it
And
say?
so, well, the thing is, it told you what to do, and it was very specific that there are two different scenarios. One, you should do this if there's a black bear, and the other thing is to do this other thing if it's a grizzly bear. So one of them is get big and scary and scare it off, and like, don't back down. And the other one is basically curl up into a ball and protect your vital organs and hope it kind of sniffs at you and goes away. And it's great advice to know, but I can't remember which one was which now. And I
Okay, so
literally read it.
I'll let you know that the grizzly bear is the more dangerous, and that's where you're supposed to
Okay.
curl up, because black bears, at least from what I read, I mean, obviously the first thing is to avoid them if at all possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're within so many yards of them, you're supposed to try and make yourself big in front of a black bear, and they'll usually run away. But a grizzly bear is more savage. So.
Right.
Real
Good
quick,
to know.
Joachim says, "Can anyone join the after chat?" Yes, absolutely. And after we do our chat, we'll have a backstage, hangout. Anybody that wants to join in can jump in. Up to 10 people, I think, is the limit for StreamYard. So I hear Australia, and all I think is danger, danger, danger. I mean, there are dangerous things everywhere. Every place has danger.
Exactly. Yeah,
Although no COVID, plenty of poisonous snakes and spiders.
that's
Yeah.
true. They did a lot better on the COVID front. Yeah.
Andy says, I know what to do. I know what I would do. Absolutely shit myself. Yeah. It was it was intense, because we were like walking down to our car to leave for the day, and we had like packed up stuff, and we were going to go hiking. And so we had like walked out of the cabin, and you had to walk down some steps to get down to the, driveway. And we got to like the very last step, and my wife was like, Tyler, bear. And I'm like looking around, because I didn't know where she was talking about. And it was at the bottom of the driveway and probably 100 yards away. And we just like ran back to the house and just locked the doors. And like, luckily the deck on the outside had 2 doors. So like, if it really did get in, we probably would have been able to sneak out the door and like jump in the car or something. But it was pretty intense. And it went like, after it sniffed around the doors and around on the deck and stuff, it went up the side of the hill and just like it was butter, just like went straight up. And he was so fast. And I'm like, if you were out there and it was within a certain distance, you would have no shot whatsoever. So, but it was really cool either way.
That's kind of different to here. I mean, the kind of craziest wildlife experience I've ever had near my house was, well, one time I kind of looked out the window, because all I could hear was just lots of cats freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened the curtains and kind of had a look. This was dead late at night, maybe like, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning. And I had no idea what was going on. So I look out, and I could just see this thing running down the road. It was kind of like a black blob, because it was quite dark. I couldn't see it. And as it was getting closer, I realized it was a badger. And it was just a badger running. It was going really quickly. I didn't know badgers could run that fast. And it was running down the middle of the road and just ran by. And apparently all the cats were basically just freaking out about it. So that's about the craziest thing you're likely to see here.
Mad Dog says, am I the only one that's always envisioned themselves dying in a life and death battle with a bear? I mean, it sounds badass. Like, that's for sure a way to go. Like, if you're going to go out, fighting a bear is the way to go. But at the time, it doesn't seem like a good idea, like when you're in it. So,
yeah, no. I think the only way I see myself going out in a life or death battle is with some kind of chav. I don't know if you know what a chav is.
No, what's that?
Yeah, it's basically like, I don't know. they're the kind of like, the kind of people you don't want to deal with outside on the streets. They're a bit like
Okay.
they
Yeah.
get in your face, and
Okay. All right. No.
yeah, the kind
The,
of, you
it's
probably have them,
crazy.
but a different word for them. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, we won't get into that, but
Mm.
no, there's a lot of like large wildlife. I've heard of people up in Canada, and how they have to deal with like moose and stuff, and how big those things are. And I've seen some videos of those things, and they can run super fast. If you've never seen a video of a moose, they are humongous, like bigger than your car, and they are everywhere up in Canada and up in Alaska and stuff like that. But big animals over here in the U.S. as far as like danger is mostly bears. I mean, deer aren't like they're everywhere, but they aren't dangerous, at least not to me. So,
Just if they run out in front of you while you're driving, and that's
yeah,
about
a lot of
it.
people hit deer. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
most dangerous thing is hitting it with your car, and then I mean they will. I've had multiple family members completely total their cars out from hitting deers, and it's not fun.
At least
So.
that's what they tell you they hit. At least, yeah.
And they tell you that you're supposed to like speed up if you're about to hit a deer. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to hit your brakes or try and swerve, because then you'll end up running off the road or running into someone else. And but I don't know. I am lucky enough, knock on wood, to never have been experienced that.
Yeah.
So, but it's okay, Adam. If Mad Dog says he would avenge you if anything ever happened to you, so we're good there.
Thanks, man.
So that's cool. So growing up there, did you collect comics when you were younger? I mean, did you?
Not when I was young.
Okay.
I think the first comic I ever got was around 2005. I think it was basically whenever Batman Begins came out, because I think we went to see that at the cinema and then decided, hey, let's go to the comic shop and get some Batman comics. But I think that was 2005, and I would have been, what, I don't know, 18, 20? I don't know. That involves way too much maths, something like that.
Well, you're about my age, so yeah, 2005 would have been,
Yeah.
17, 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I'm the same way. I didn't get until I was 20, 21, probably.
Yeah.
I was much later in life, but I had always. I mean, did you grow up watching, like the X-Men series and Spider-Man and Batman animated series? Yeah, like every kid our age, we love those things. So
that was my gateway. So I grew up on like the Batman animated series in particular. The X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons were some of my favorites, and Tim Burton's Batman films as well. Loved those when I was a kid. I still watch Batman Returns every Christmas, because that's like
awesome.
Everyone else watches Die Hard. I watch Batman Returns. That's my Christmas film.
Man, I'm with you. I revisit those every so often, like every 2 or 3 years, and just try and watch all 4 of them, because like I know they're not great, but they have so much nostalgia, because like you said, we were at the right age for those, where it was super, campy looking back now, and like over the top zany, but it was so much fun as a kid watching that. And the Penguin
weren't very campy. I mean, they look quite gothy. Like, I think the 2 after that is where you get into campy territory.
I guess over
I know
the
what
top.
you mean, though.
Yeah, over the
they're
top.
very over the top.
Yeah. But Penguin is freaking terrifying. I hated the Penguin. Danny DeVito was terrifying to me as a kid, and like
I mean,
it was so gross.
I've currently been rewatching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and
awesome.
He's in that. And every now and again, he'll just make a weird noise like the penguin, and I'm like, there he is. He's still got it.
Flashback.
So great. I love Danny DeVito. He's such a treasure. Like,
Andy wants to know, what is Adam drinking? Looks like one of my favorite IPAs.
Yeah, it's called Lupaloid.
Lupaloid.
It's Beavertown Brewery. Yeah, they do lots of cool beers in like these funky looking cans. I've got this one here for later, Gamma Ray.
Very colorful.
They all look like basically like soft drinks, so you can get away with drinking them. I don't know. Yeah,
Nice.
places you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's what I was drinking last night. We went out and sat on a patio and drank some beers, and I had far too many IPAs, and they were
Nice.
of all varying alcohol content. So today, I mean, since you brought it up, I'm drinking some bourbon. So today I've picked out Russell's Reserve 10-year, which is just a 90% or a 90 proof, not 90%, Jesus, 45%, 90 proof. But this is like one of the, if you're in America or if you find this over there, this is like one of the best values because it's a 10-year-old, which is extremely, it's kind of hard to find that old unless you pay a lot. So it's a good value bourbon, and it's everywhere over here in the United States. So
I haven't seen it over here, but I don't really look very far. I see a bottle of Jameson's, and that's where I stop when it comes to like the whiskey end of the spectrum.
I know before the show started, you told me you never had a bourbon, so I'm gonna have to get you. You'll have to take a picture next time you're somewhere where you can, and I can recommend one and send it to me.
I'll do that. You'll probably be offended at our selection over here. I mean, you live in Kentucky. So.
You would be surprised. Like people say that, but the problem with living in Kentucky, where bourbon is that everyone knows about it. So it's really hard to get the good stuff. Like, 10 years ago, before the like bourbon boom, it's weird because it kind of coincides with the comic boom of the last like 10 years. Is like, I don't know if it's just more people getting into it, but it's like or COVID or whatever, but it's so hard to find good bourbon in the stores. And then a lot of places mark it up really high. The same thing with comics, their secondary market is so inflated that I've kind of taken a step back on bourbon because it was getting way too expensive to get like good stuff that I used to be able to get pretty easily. So, but yes, there is when we walk into most liquor stores here, it's a humongous selection of a wall of bourbon to choose from. So
sounds glorious. I'll send you a picture of what
definitely.
We have.
All right, hold on. Let's check in these comments because we got a couple. We got the noob, Sean. No such thing as too many. I'm assuming bourbon he was talking about. I'm not sure what he's talking about there.
Too many beers?
Too many beers? That's true. Yeah, maybe that's it. Batman Returns, Mask of the Phantasm, The Dark Knight, Batman Holy Trinity. I would have to... Yeah, I don't know. I think I like Batman Begins. I don't know. Dark Knight is great, but...
I know what you mean. I've got a real soft spot for Batman Begins because I think it's very underrated compared to... Because I think the Dark Knight steals the limelight a bit, takes away a little bit from just how good and solid Batman Begins was.
Batman
Begins the first film of like a Batman reboot, it's like really, really solid. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day, and you're a pretty big Batman fan as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? You're pretty well versed. I feel like the Dark Knight trilogy is obviously like the best filmmaking not obviously, but I'll say in my opinion, the best filmmaking. Visually, it looks beautiful. I like most of the story, everything. But I think Ben Affleck is a better Batman personally. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I still don't think anyone's nailed Batman on screen.
There you go.
I think the closest thing you'll get is the animated Batman for Kevin Conroy's Batman.
I know, man.
To the point where I'm scared to find out what he actually looks like as a person, Kevin Conroy, because in my head he just looks like...
You've never seen him?
Nope,
you've never seen him? He doesn't look like Bruce Wayne. I'll just tell you that.
I don't believe you. In my head, he's basically two-dimensional and looks exactly like that. So,
he is so Batman voice, because I agree. Like growing up, Batman the Animated Series was my favorite. Batman's my favorite character. That is Batman to me. You're exactly right, and I agree that like if you could have his voice. Maybe on Ben Affleck just doing the voices, or doing the voice, and then having Kevin Conroy do the voiceover, that would be great. But
I'm sure that could be arranged. Like someone should do that.
Andy has a suggestion here. Try neck oil,
So
Adam. I'm assuming
I
that's a.
tried neck oil. I just bought like, I don't know, 3 packs of like 12 of them, I think they were, because they had this offer on. And yeah, it's been neck oil for a while in my fridge. I've just
Awesome.
got through it all. So yeah.
And Joachim agrees. Hell yeah, Batfleck. I mean, I don't know. He just, so far anyway, I think he fills the body type and kind of what I imagine as a live action Batman. To me, the best so far. I agree. I don't think anyone's perfect, but I don't know. I don't really have anybody right now that I would consider like, hey, this person should play Batman. I'm not
Yeah.
going to judge Pattinson until it comes out because I've been wrong before, but we'll
Are you
see.
one of those people? So if you say Batfleck kind of is your like Batman figure, are you one of the people who thinks that he's too skinny, Pattinson? Because I
I'm
know
worried
that's
about
been a
that.
bit of
Yeah.
yeah. See, it doesn't bother me too much.
I mean,
But we'll see what happens with the whole film. But
I don't know. It
I'm
doesn't
really
bother me, but like I said, because growing up with the animated series, that sort of stocky, wide-shouldered, kind of is Batman to me, I guess, maybe. But it doesn't bother me. Like it won't ruin my enjoyment of the film because I'm not one of those people that has to have like perfect comic accuracy to watch a movie because I think they're different mediums. They're not meant to be, the same thing. And if they were the same thing, they'd be terrible, I think, because they're different mediums. But Sean says old Kevin Conroy looks old. Yeah. Lego Batman, the best Batman is Lego Batman. I mean, I love Lego Batman. It's great. I watch the Lego movie once a year. And I watched the Lego Batman movie probably every other year now. But Batfleck for me, a little bit of humor with the gruff. Yeah, I think he just kind of plays the brooding really well, the brooding Batman. So I think that, and, I like it. But regardless, Batman Begins is, I think, I love Dark Knight, and it was at one point like my favorite movie of all time, but I've really come more back around to Batman Begins as being like just a really good movie as well, because I love Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow. He's one of my favorite actors, and so he was great in that. So
lovely Liam Neeson in it as well. I thought he was great.
Yeah, you got Ra's al Ghul in there, and like it's a fun movie that is underappreciated. I agree. So we've talked about a couple things about how you got into collecting, and I think it's pretty similar to a lot of people our age. Is you watch the animated shows, and then you kind of gently go into comics as you get older. That's pretty common with a lot of people I've heard. But when and why did you start your YouTube channel?
I can't remember what month it was. It was last year, and it was, I don't know, I want to say around August or something like that. And I don't know why I did it. Like, like I don't think I really meant to. So I basically started messaging Marcus from Mad Dog Comics just to support him, really. And I really liked seeing that we had someone from the UK trying to do big and bold things on YouTube. And I think I sent him a message and just to kind of show my support and be like, there's someone out there watching you. I like what you're doing. Don't give it in or whatever. And then I don't know. We were messaging back and forth, and at some point, I think he either suggested it or alluded to it and said, "Hey, well, you do a video kind of thing. You should just film something." I can't remember what we were talking about, so I don't really know how it came up. But then it kind of got in my head from there, I think. And I just ended up filming a video that I thought no one would ever watch. And I mean, to be honest, you might end up going back and roasting it. I saw your live stream the other day.
Okay,
you can go back and roast my first video as well.
To be fair, I was under the influence, and we roasted my first video as well. But yeah, if anyone hasn't seen that, we did an impromptu hangout and kind of went through people's first videos because And I think it's very important because, you know, I'm new to YouTube, and a lot of us are new to YouTube, and it is one of those things, at least for me, I think you just need to do it. Like, just make your first video. Everyone's starts at different points in their levels, but everyone starts out and hates what they did at the beginning. Like, I look back at that video now and I'm like, oh man, that's terrible. And, you know, I did a few good things, but a lot of it I was just like, oh, it's cringe, you know, and like, but it's important to just get into doing it, and the, you know, having a release date or staying on a schedule or something, whatever that goal is. It's important for people out there that, you know, to do it as just get whatever you have. I use my iPhone to film it, and I, like I was saying before the show, I edited on an iPad that's like 4 years old that, you know, is not super powerful, but you can do it. You can upload from those things. You don't need fancy equipment or anything. And it helps
I do
you.
literally everything on one device. I do it on this Surface tablet that I've got, and
Yeah.
it's the only thing I use. I film all my videos on it, and I do these streams on it. It's like the one thing that does everything. So
Here we go. Hold on. We got to get this. Andy says James from Comic Deal would be a great Batman. Brooding, dull, with a little bit of humor. And Yoka says, watching a superhero movie through a child's eyes is the best. Not involving physical laws or plot holes gets in the way of you just enjoying our favorite superheroes in live action. I completely agree. You didn't think about that kind of stuff when you were a kid. You know, you just were there for the pure joy of seeing, you know, Batman punch a criminal and shoot his, you know, batarangs at people, and it was just great.
Or flashes Batman credit card at people, depending on which film you're watching. Yes.
Noob said he's got to run. Family thing on. Thanks, Noob. Thanks for joining us. And Kim says, I privated my first videos or deleted them once I still had copies of them spring cleaning on the channel to better represent what it is today. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, I can see that. Yeah, I can see the point of doing it. For certain channels that do a lot of content, I think it's more beneficial because you then want to kind of streamline what people can look at. Like, some people might have done a better video that covers the ground of your first video, but you've done a new one that's a bit more polished and better to look at. So I know there's a few people doing that. I know Highland G, he's done purges of his old content, and where he's done reviews of like maybe volume 1 of a book, then volume 2, then volume 3, and then he's done one to cover the whole series. Okay. So he'll delete the volume 1, 2, and 3, because why would you watch those if you could just hear his thoughts about the series, and, you know, stuff like that. I guess there's different like mentalities behind it depending on what it is.
That makes sense. I get it from that point, because I have that problem now. Is, you know, I did a couple of bourbon and books reviews where I review bourbon and books, and now, like, you know, I reviewed Kill or Be Killed volume 1, and then I'm like, okay, I can do volume 2. I have that one. I've read it, and that makes sense. Is, you know, there's 4 volumes. You get to the end of that and just put out one video for the entire thing. That kind of makes sense. I get that. I was just thinking of more of it like, oh, you're embarrassed by your old videos, so you just delete them so that no one sees them, type of thing. And I'm like, I kind of enjoy, you know, having that sort of history of, like, you know, I started here and now I'm here, type of thing, where you can see progress, I guess.
I guess with Joachim, he's privated them, so he could still watch them.
That's
true. He can see his progress, and I guess if that's the thing you're bothered about, you don't lose that unless you delete them. But I don't know. Maybe you should unprivate the first one, and we can do the roast.
Ooh, there we go.
Sunday roast. Yeah.
I don't know. I felt a little bad after it, because you know, some people, I take it completely as, you know, it's funny. It's therapeutic to laugh at yourself, because that's the way I've always been. Is if you can't laugh at yourself, then, you know, what are you doing? But I don't want to, you know, step on anyone's toes and think we're being malicious. It was literally just you know, hey, let's look at our first videos to show where we are now and how much better it is. And, you know, it's with everything. You can't, everyone starts new, and everyone is bad at something at some point. You don't start out making, you know, Casey Neistat or whatever his videos are. You don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like my videos are getting worse. So like, I feel like it kind of goes both ways.
And he says,
Yeah.
my videos are consistently shit. If I had to purge the bad ones, I'd have no videos.
I feel the same way for me.
I mean, that's a problem that some people might have, is if you have
Yeah.
nothing good left over. But no, I think it's great, because to me, I think I started the same way you did. I didn't mean to. I just did it one day. I was just like, man, I'm really enjoying getting back into comics after being out for a little while, and I need a community, and we've been in lockdown for so long, and I just don't have people to talk to about comics. And so that was really my main motivation. It's like, I need to talk to people about comics, because I can't talk to a lot of people about them right now. So
yeah, I don't have a lot of comic book reading friends, so I thought, I mean, that might be a nice aspect for it as well. But one of the big reasons I kind of thought maybe I'll kind of take the plunge into it was it would be nice to have an excuse to actually read the books that I keep buying, because like I buy a lot of books. Anyone who's seen my hauls probably knows that much, but I'm quite a slow reader, and it's not that I don't like reading or anything. It's just I have to have quite a lot of energy and be quite awake to want to read something, especially if it's quite an involved read. And what I find that I kind of like, I work full time and stuff, and I kind of get not I'm not too energetic in the evenings, and I don't really pick up and read a book if I'm not in the best state of mind like that. So I just like having that extra motivating factor of like, if I read a book, I can get more out of it now. If I have people to talk to about it, if I can make a video about it, if I could, kind of bring it to the table in some live stream or whatever, then there's more of a reason to read. And I like that aspect of having a channel as well. So
it's definitely motivation for me, because I got to that point too, where I was buying a lot of stuff and not reading a lot of it. Are you reading? Andy wants to know, where's Adam's accent from? He has the tones of an Edwardian knight, but I can't quite place it. He said he was from the Midlands, man. Will you listen? Jeez.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Like, people like, where's my accent from? And I'm like, what accent? Like, everyone is, because to you don't have an accent, but
Yep.
Yeah, I do get that from people in my city as well. So I don't think it's
it's not.
Some people guess it,
Yeah.
and yeah, some people say I sound American, and I'm like, nope, never even been. So
I would not concur with that assessment, just so you know.
I've had it before.
But you do have it. It's definitely a muted English accent to me, anyway. Hearing a lot of you guys from the UK, it's definitely subtle, I would say. And I have an accent. Andy, you have an accent. I will concur with that. You're not as bad as GP Venom, man. The first time I met GP Venom, I could not understand a word he said, and I was like, "Where are you from?" Because I can't understand anything. And I'm like, I listen to a lot of English and British YouTubers and streamers and things like that, and I'm like, I can pick up on a lot of it. I watch a lot of Peaky Blinders too, so I understand a lot of it. But he's a good guy too. All right, so we're getting pretty far in, so I want to jump into our next section, which was pretty popular in the last show, and that's this or that. So in this section, I will give you two options, and you have to pick which one you prefer, or which one you would rather, or what this or that. Yeah. You can give your reasons, but the first one we have for this or that: ninjas or pirates?
Ninjas, especially if they're the turtle variety.
Oh, okay.
Ninja Turtles. There you go.
Okay, so
I've never been that into pirates.
Really?
I don't know why. I didn't really, like the Pirates of the Caribbean and all that. And that completely missed all that craze. I don't love those films. Never really had much pirate kind of. I've never liked anything that was very pirate focused. So, but I do love Ninja Turtles.
That's cheating. You can't have pirate ninjas. That's cheating. If you haven't, and you want to watch a good pirate TV show, Black Sails. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, but not watched it.
Absolutely fantastic. I think it's 4 seasons, so it's not a long, and they're like 10 episodes each, and they're like hour long. episodes, so it's not a huge commitment. But I explain it to people as it's basically like Game of Thrones, but pirates. It's like, or Pirates of the Caribbean if it was on HBO. It's
Cool.
on, I think it was Showtime or something here in the US, but no one talks about it, and it is so freaking good, and it's much more realistic to what pirates would be like in the real world, as opposed to the Disney-fied Pirates of the Caribbean type stuff.
Yeah,
pirating
cool.
TV shows does not count, Andy. That's different. But yeah, I always recommend that to people because it's so good and it's just the right. It doesn't suffer from the Game of Thrones effect where they went, like they got worse later on in the seasons.
Yeah,
they didn't let it go too long, which they could have. I wish they did more seasons selfishly, but it was so good, the 4 seasons that they made. So can't recommend it enough.
I will check it out. I've heard of it, and yeah, I've just never seen anything good with pirates in it, so that might be the one.
It's very good. As far as Ninja goes, obviously, I mean, Ninja Turtles were huge when we were kids. So
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel ninjas or pirates. I think I read Treasure Island last year, which was the first time I'd ever read that, the classic Robert Louis Stevenson book. And I enjoyed that a lot. So I think I want to learn more about pirates and like the actual history and that kind of stuff. But I've never been a huge pirate person either. Watch a lot of, ninja movies and stuff like that, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that's,
I can't actually think of any ninja films now either, thinking about it.
Do you watch any Ip Man? Have you ever watched that series?
It's been on my Netflix watch list for years.
I mean, it's subtitled, so you'll have to read, but it's
I don't
great.
mind. Yeah,
if you don't mind that, which I don't mind either, it's great. The Ip Man trilogy. I haven't watched the 4th one because the trilogy was like the original one.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I mentioned it last time on the show or if it was in the backstage, but The Good, the Bad, the Weird. And I got that wrong. It's not the same director, Bong Joon-ho. It's a different director. Bong Joon-ho did, I think, Snowpiercer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And Parasite, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to...
I assume that was him. Maybe.
Anyway,
did he do The Host? That's a film I think he did.
I'm not sure. There's so many good movies out of these Korean directors that I've been getting into.
Yeah. I remember just I know it's not it's kind of related, but you said you hadn't seen the.
Yes.
Did he? Cool.
Yes. Okay.
You said you hadn't seen the Raid films. By the way,
that's on my list.
Definitely watch them.
Okay.
They're 2 of my favorite films. So.
But yeah, Ip Man they're great. I think they're all 3 worth watching, but I think the first one is probably the best. I don't know. I haven't watched them in about 2 years though, but they're definitely fun movies and they're enjoyable. And it's what is his name? Danny. I can't think of the
Donnie
Yen. Donnie Yen. Yeah, Donnie Yen, and he's great in it. Loved him.
Yeah.
Okay. The next this or that: teleportation or time travel.
Time travel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I mean, like, time travel, you could teleport with it, right? Because, I mean, if you go back in time, like, it depends. So, are you talking like Hero from Heroes?
I've never seen Heroes, so I don't know.
Because he can teleport as well as jump around. Because space and time are linked, right? Because they're like space time.
Okay, for the purposes of this,
even if I couldn't teleport with it, I'd say time travel.
You would still say time travel?
Yeah, because I'm a massive fuck up and would love to correct every little mistake I ever do. So yeah.
But then you get into the time travel paradoxes, and if you change one thing, it's going to change the entire world, right?
It depends which school of time travel you kind of subscribe to, because I mean, like, if time travel was real, I think that anytime you went back, you would just be causing the thing that already happened anyway. That's kind of the time travel, I would think. So I don't think it would actually work the way I want it to anyway. So I wouldn't be able to go back and undo what I did, because if I go back, I'll just be causing something that already happened that I didn't know I caused. And
have you watched the movie Primer? Do you know of it?
Great film. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. If anyone out there hasn't watched it, it's a time travel movie that handles that whole time paradox of going back in time and meeting yourself, and it handles it really well. And it's like they shot that movie for $10,000, and it's fantastic. It looks great. So,
incredible film.
Tyler, we need clarity with these or this or that questions. I want to. This is the discussion though, because you can, I don't know. I mean, I think I would pick teleportation just because I hate the travel time. I love just getting Adam, are you considering going back in time when Tyler asked you to be on this show? Andy, you know what? Well, he's off the list now.
So he was number 3, right?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Teleportation to me, because there's so many times when I'm like looking forward to going somewhere or going on a vacation, or you're at work and you're just dreading the drive home or whatever. I think I would pick teleportation. Time travel it would be really cool to go back and see different periods of time. If you were just even as an observer, just to go back and see how things really were versus how they were written.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. But I still think selfishly teleportation would be great, because then I could just go to Australia like we were talking about, and I could just be like, hey, this is great.
I mean, if you could time travel though, I mean, does that include just like stopping time dead? Because you could stop time dead and then just walk there and then see all kinds of stuff on the way. It'd take ages. But...
And then that brings up the question of like, if time is stopped, can you walk on water? Or like, how does that work? Or would you would you have to go on land? And like, then can you interact with anything when you're, okay, this is a completely different show. We'll revisit this in another show.
I think we need a physicist on the next one if we're going to do that.
We're blowing people's minds here. Which type of teleportation type do you describe to them? The one where you simply blipped, or your molecules are breaking down and reassemble? Wow.
Oh no. So you'd want you'd want the wormhole version, or whatever the equivalent would be, where you're still just you, because that's a bit of a nightmare when it comes to philosophy. Are you still you?
Yeah. In this question, my intent was that teleportation is literally you control the point where you could use your mind to just teleport to another spot. This is not. Yeah. You guys are taking this real serious.
Yeah, this is like Harry Potter magic, not like science magic.
Okay, so third one: movie at home or movie at the theater?
Depends on the movie.
Okay.
And it depends how many people are in the theater.
I'm with you.
So, yeah, I feel like some films you kind of got to see at the cinema. So, but honestly, like I think once you get there, like the screen is big and everything, but everything is a bit grainy and blurry depending on what kind of how well they've set it up. Or so it depends. If you want actual like clarity, sitting at home in front of like a nice big 4K TV is probably a better visual experience than going to the cinema. So that completely depends on the film. But if you're gonna tell me I could only do one forever, it would be at home, because I don't think I could give up watching films at home. If I had to go to the cinema every time to watch a film, I would hardly watch films.
Yeah, exactly. I think that too. This is hilarious. So this was a long time ago, obviously, because I'll tell you what the movie was. But my wife and I went to see, I think it was the first Hobbit movie, in the Peter Jackson Hobbit movie in the theaters. Yeah. And we left that, and she goes, I'm never going to see a movie with you again, because I was so pissed because these people behind us were talking like the entire time. And when I'm in a theater, like I want to be able to hear Like I'm there to watch the movie. Like I'm not there to listen to you guys dick around the whole time, you know? So I was just pissed. And she was like, we're never going to another movie. Of course we went to movies after that. But I'm with you, man. Like if I had to pick one or the other and, you know, you couldn't do the other one for the rest of the life, I'm completely at home. I don't like other people talking.
Yeah.
Angry Tyler. I was, man. I'm just like, you know, and I'm not one of those people that's going to get up and scream at someone or anything like
Yeah.
that. I'm just like, you know, it's just inconsiderate to me. And, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean, over here, it's not too bad. Like I've never had too many of those experiences, but there's been one or two where some people do just take the piss. That's a great
Snyder
point.
cut at home. I mean,
Yeah,
that
toilet breaks alone, you know, being able to
that's
pause,
true.
like,
I mean, how long was I watched all three Lord of the Rings in the theater, but those weren't the extended cuts because the extended cuts are like 4.5.
oh
They're
yeah,
like
yeah,
4 hours long. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is at home you can pause, you know, that's a huge advantage that you're not going to miss anything. And I mean, nowadays, you know, 4K TVs, at least over here, are so cheap that everyone can have
yeah,
a 4K TV. Like they've come down so much. And I mean, you know, you get a decent sound bar and you're fine. You know, you can basically have a cinema experience at home. Um,
yeah,
Plus you're just more comfortable, you know, and
true,
you don't have to
yeah,
spend, you know, $20 on a popcorn. So
yeah,
I'm with you there.
cool, yeah, that
All
would be
right.
me. So,
That concludes our this or that. So we had a few chats before setting all this up, and you said it was extremely difficult to find your 5 books for
yes,
these answers. Is that that
yeah. I
accurate?
mean, some of them I had too many that I wanted to pick, and a couple of them I wasn't sure how many to pick. So yeah, I struggled a bit,
That's
but
awesome.
that's good.
That was the whole point of this is to make
Yeah,
people think is, you know, it doesn't have to be the end all be all. Like this is my favorite of all time. I just really was to get people talking and you thinking about, you know, what you would pick for your favorite artist, your favorite writer, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
we'll start out with favorite art or artist. So
cool.
what did you bring?
Saga.
Ooh,
Yeah, Shane from last week is probably there cursing me because I don't think he got on well with Saga, based on the nerd herd that they did. But Fiona Staples, genuinely, like everything she draws in this book is ridiculously good. Like she kind of does everything amazingly, and that's what I love about it is like what she's asked to draw in here by Brian K. Vaughan. Like sometimes I think he's just fucking with her because some of the stuff she's has to draw is literally like unimaginable almost. I mean, or just crude, like some real crude stuff in here. Um, but she like handles everything that's thrown at her, and she does everything from like the epic big scale sci-fi stuff to the little quiet moments and facial expressions. She's really good at just drawing, like telling the story through people's like reactions and facial expressions. So um yeah, she's just an absolute all-rounder and a beast of an artist. And yeah, anyone who's read this and loves it probably can agree. I don't know, have you read this?
I have read the first 3 or 4 trade paperbacks, and then I stopped at that point and decided I'm going to buy the hardback, oversized. You know,
Yeah,
and they actually aren't like super expensive over here on Amazon. I think they're like $27 or something like that for that, and so they're on the list. As many people have pointed out, my lists are very they're
yeah,
long, and but that's the problem is like I realized really like before that I was just focused so much on Batman, and like expanding my horizons now has opened up so many things, and Saga was one of those ones where I kind of read synopsis and saw the covers and didn't really think I would enjoy it, and then I read those first 2 or 3 trade paperbacks and I was like, I love this. This is the art is like you say, it is so clean and
yeah,
crisp, and I don't want to say simple in a bad way, but it is very, you know, it's not highly detailed, but it is so much emotion, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's got like a real kind of like mixed style when it comes to the fact that all the characters are a bit more like fully rendered and all the backgrounds are kind of painted. So there's always like kind of two layers to everything she does, but like she does it all herself. I think she does all the coloring and everything, and it's literally just
All right, you two.
everything.
Let me. What are you talking about? My curtains. What is the deal with? Can't believe you haven't highlighted my curtain chatter. Authority's going to his head. Them curtains remind me of the public showers. These are nice curtains. You guys just make my curtains. We worship the robots with TVs for heads. Subtle. Yeah, I mean, I did not intend or did not think that I would get so involved in that story because it is very. I mean, if anyone that hasn't read Saga, it's basically Romeo and Juliet. You know, it's the star-crossed lovers or whatever. They're not supposed to be together, but the story and how it's written, Brian K. Vaughan just does such a good job of like actually making you give a shit about those characters and what they're going through, and the action is well paced. It is. And so I'm super excited to finish the series out. But like I said, I do this with so many things. I did it with East of West. I did it with Black Science. I did it with Saga. I'm like, I read the first few, and then I'm like, oh, I need to stop and just buy the best quality, I can get for the book that's available. So
yeah, if you can get these deluxe editions for cheap, I definitely recommend it. These are like beautiful books. So yeah, I couldn't live with just having this artwork in trade paperback size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Let's see that very well.
Let's look at the. I mean, it's just, and it's the colors she uses are so. They're definitely vibrant, but not in an annoying way, if that makes sense. Sometimes you get like the vibrant colors that are just like neon to be neon. I know, man. She draws the ghosts, I think, so well. Like, there's so much expression in the faces.
She just draws some ridiculous stuff, and character design wise. I mean, these guys here, like what the fuck? Like, actually,
Shane was not a fan of the sextillions, right? Is that so? Yeah, sextillion.
Yeah. I know. I can understand why. I think he needs to read on because there's some actual beautiful moments that come of it. Because that's the thing I think with Saga is that I'm kind of getting more into the writing of the book here, I guess. But yeah, sorry, off topic slightly. But like the whole thing is about human experience, so it has to cover some of the fucked up bad stuff. And I think that's what this book is it kind of portrays human experience through a lens of this kind of fantastic alien kind of sci-fi genre. But then that's why I love that she's like the perfect artist for this because of what she's been asked to draw. She has to draw humans and aliens, but all the aliens still have something really human about them. It's like a real mix of talents that she's using to kind of bring this book to life. And I think the fact that, so I know a lot of people who don't even read comics, but some of them have read Saga, and which was a bit baffling to me at first. But then I kind of realized that it's probably to do with the fact that it's Brian K. Vaughan writes in quite an easy, accessible style, but then the storytelling here is really easy to follow, and half of that is because Fiona Staples is just an excellent storyteller. So yeah, I think she just basically does nothing wrong in this book. Everything she does is like pretty bang on. So
the first, like, I read a bunch of Batman, and that was really like the only thing I read for a long time. And Why the Last Man was my first book that was non-Batman that really showed me what comics could be, or graphic novels could be, and that is much more of just a story about normal people, and it's a storytelling. It's in this medium, but it's not about people with capes or anything like that. And Why the Last Man was the first series that I really got into and showed me that there's more than just Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, those kind of things. And that's kind of my entry into other things. And I mean, I agree completely that his writing makes it very accessible to anyone, and I would recommend Why the Last Man to anybody because it's not a comic book, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Very
Yeah.
accessible, and I get that. Saga to me would not be something necessarily that I would recommend to anyone because it is
No.
more spacey and it's mature and stuff. But I agree that I think that anyone could pick it up and enjoy it. That it would.
I think just it surprised me at some of the people I've known who have really loved it. Like I know people at work who literally don't read comics who have read it, and that I think is quite surprising, and I think a lot of that is to do with Fiona Staples. So I actually don't really know what else she's done other than Saga and some
I don't
Archie
either.
comics.
I
But
was just getting ready to ask you if you knew anything else because I don't know her anywhere else. So
no, I mean I keep meaning to go look back and see what else she did before Saga because I mean I refuse to believe that she just started off doing this.
No kidding.
She's too good.
So good. Yeah, exactly.
But I just love her art so much on this. But I always forget to kind of.
I'm sure you've heard, that it's that they're coming back at some point soon.
Yeah.
Supposedly they're working on it right now. So
so they're halfway through the series, and I know they've been working on it. I think they took a big break. Obviously, I think for her to draw this in its entirety, it does take its toll on her. Apparently, that's half the reason why they take the big breaks between some of the arcs as well. So yeah,
I'm all for it. I mean, take as long as you need.
Same. That's what I always say.
I think it's much better to just wait for the product to come out. And I mean, obviously, if it's getting too much in between issues, but and consistently. But at that point, I would rather you just wait until 6 issues are ready and then release them monthly, as opposed to trying to make deadlines and stuff like that. But the product at the end is much more important to me than a schedule because these stories are going to last a lot longer than the month that they're supposed to be released in. So.
Yeah, I mean that's what I always say is they can have as long as a break as they need, as long as she's drawing everything when they get back. Because
that's awesome, man, and I completely agree with you. And I'm already on the Saga bandwagon, so no need to convince me of that one. Anybody else that's out there, definitely. Andy says she didn't do much. She done Deviate, Gods and Monsters, and Thunder Agents. I'm not sure. I've not heard of those. Is that Gods and Monsters from DC? The Justice League Gods and Monsters? Or is it Deviate, Gods and Monsters all one thing?
Yeah, I don't know. But man, that's pretty incredible. Maybe she's just a really talented artist, but she'd never really done much storytelling. But to say how good a storyteller she is, that's pretty incredible, if that's true.
I think that's something that gets overlooked as well, is storytelling through the art. Because, if you read some of these scripts and stuff, some people put a ton of, description in it as to what they're trying to convey, and then some people don't. And that's very interesting to me as far as the process of how books get made, Yeah,
I mean, I just opened it at random panel, and you can probably just see there's a lot going on here. But it's just kind of two people meeting and talking, but the facial expressions,
I love her style.
The storytelling
too. It's kind of anime inspired, but not really. It's like an Americanized anime type face. I don't know how to describe it, and it's very clean and simple, but it's so well done. It's just
and everyone's got to love Lion Cat. I mean, look at she draws facial expressions on non-human characters bang on as well. The mood of this cat, right? But you don't.
It feels like a cat too. It feels like the way a cat would react.
And it's not just all cats look a bit bitchy and miserable like that. If you read the book, you'll know that even Lion Cat kind of has her moments.
Is it a her? I don't know.
Yeah, she's a she.
I didn't know that. I always interpreted it as a he, but
I mean, look at that expression. That's completely different. But it's surprise, it's
yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
everybody, we could
Young
gush over
staples.
Saga for hours, but let's move on to favorite writing, because this is interesting to
Yeah.
me, because writing to me is a huge part. You know, I think I can forgive a lot of art if the writing is great, but I don't think it's vice versa. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can't forgive a book if the art is great but the writing is shit. So before we move on, real quick, Joachim says Fiona draws eyes
Yeah.
very well, and that's where the emotion is. That's so true. Eyes show everything. But favorite writing, what do you got for us, Adam?
So I almost didn't pick this purely because of my first pick, but Brian K. Vaughan. and for the purposes of variation, I'll bring up this book really. Actually,
Oh, okay.
let's bring
Now you're
up
just
this
showing off.
one,
Now you're just showing
because
off.
this comic. I mean, you've read this, so this is Why the Last Man, and this comic in particular, this is the last issue, and this is one of the only comics that's made me kind of like hold back tears. And
Yeah.
everyone who's read this probably knows the bit I mean in the ending, but it's Why the Last Man, Paper Girls. I've just read Paper Girls like the tail end of last year when the third deluxe book came out, and I read it all. Like I did. So there's three of these. I read them one per night, and that's kind of unusual for me because I'm quite a slow
Wow.
reader.
Yeah, that's
And
quick too for one of those
yeah,
thicker books. Yeah.
I mean they're just page turners, and I think that's the thing with his writing styles. It's quite easy to read. It's accessible. Paper Girls was great, by the way. If you've not read that one yet, highly
It's on
recommend
my
it. I
list.
did, yeah,
It's on the
I did
infamous list. Yeah.
for the my first live stream that I ever did was I was on the comic board the tail end of last year, and the stream topic was our top reads for the year, and Paper Girls was number one on my list. And yeah, this is a story with heart, and I think he does time travel stuff really well. He doesn't trip over himself, and it's sci-fi, it's crazy, it's fantasy, but it's always got this kind of real human connection at the core of it, and it's about four girls who are just friends and their friendship and how that develops. And yeah, I think this book really stuck with me, and I can see me rereading this saga, Why the Last Man, just over and over again throughout my life. So
I listened to that, and your the show with you and Comic Bound, and Paper Girls was always on my radar because I loved Y and Saga, and so Paper Girls was on it, but I didn't really think that I would enjoy the story or the plot and that kind of stuff. And then I listened to that show that you guys did, and you guys just gushed over it, and I was like, okay, I'll do it, because I'm just trying to take more chances of, jumping into things that, even though I don't think I would enjoy necessarily, the Paper Girls aspect of it or whatever, that I'm not going to identify with it. But you guys said that it's so much more than that. And I think I completely agree with you that Brian K. Vaughan's writing is just page turner. It's so easy. I breezed through Why the Last Man. And I agree with you that Saga and Y, from what I've read, I would reread again, because you can get more out of it through rereads, and it is not one of those ones where you read it once and you know the story. You don't need to revisit it. But Paper Girls is one that I'm super excited, because it is a finished story as far as I know, right? There's only those three deluxes, correct?
Completely done. Yeah, unless they do any go back and I don't know, do a sequel or whatever. But it's beginning, middle, and end completed.
Yeah.
It would there wouldn't be any point revisiting it, so I can't see it ever happening. But obviously, you can never say never. But I don't know why he would. I assume he would never dream of it.
So here's something Andy brings up: Ex Machina was fire. I read the first trade paperback of Ex Machina, and I was not super big on it. And I loved
I
loved
we talked
Saga.
about this last time we chatted. Actually, yeah, I remember you saying.
And I don't know what it really was, but I didn't really identify with the character, or I don't know. It just didn't grab me, I guess, is the best way.
Out of
to
all the stuff I've read by Brian K. Vaughan, it is my least favorite. I still like it, but it's definitely the bottom of the list of an excellent body of work that I've read of his. I've not read everything he's done, but
yeah.
it's I think it's a bit overly long for what it does as well. Maybe I don't know.
And have
It's
you
a
read
bit
the whole series?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Only the once, but it's maybe something that I feel like could have been condensed a little bit more, like because it's quite a big story. Um, but I thought a lot of it was still very well done and very well written. Like the characters are all well defined. Obviously, if you connect with them or not, that's a different story. But I think they're all pretty well defined. Um, the kind of world building was pretty well done. I know a lot of people sometimes that say they liked it up until the ending, and I can kind of see people's points about that as well. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was just kind of indifferent to it. But um, yeah, I would say that's probably one of the things that I'll still reread, but maybe nowhere near as often as his other stuff. So
Which is fine because I mean that's the thing is like you look at some of these art writers and artists and you're like, well, even if his worst book is still good, like that's a great problem to have, is that
yeah,
you have three other great series that you want to revisit, and then this one is
exactly.
still
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. And maybe it is because I think Ex Machina was one of his earliest series, so I mean he's
yeah, I think
still
so. Yeah,
figuring out how to write and how to do it, because it is a different medium, like it is its own art form. But I bought the Ex Machina first trade paperback, and like I said, I will always give something at least a trade paperback or two just to try it out and
yeah,
see. But I wasn't sure how how it progressed and how the rest of the series went. But maybe that's not something that's high on my list the way that Paper Girls would be, because with your recommendation and how much I love Saga and why, then definitely at the top there. So.
yeah. I think a Paper Girls is a lot closer to stuff like Saga and Y than it is to Ex Machina. And yeah, Andy just said,
Runaways. That's what I
yeah,
was gonna say. I don't know what is Runaways. Another series that he did.
it's a Marvel series, so
That's what I thought. Okay.
it's basically the kind of general premise is there's a group of teenage kind of kids who find out their parents are supervillains, and then they kind of run away, and that's where the name comes from, Runaways, and they kind of form a little group, and they've all got like their own powers or talents as well. And that was done by him for the first, I don't know, 3 deluxe edition worth of story. I can't remember how many issues he did, and then Joss Whedon took over. I think I haven't read that stuff.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
Marvel knowledge is like non-existent, and that's what I found out from Shane's quiz. I was like, I should probably start reading some Marvel. So, but I just, again, there's so much good stuff out there. It's hard to find time for everything. But
oh yeah,
that's the problem we all have, right? We don't have enough time to read all the amazing shit that's everywhere. So,
that's true.
definitely love the first two picks. So let's see if we get away from Brian K. Vaughan in our next subject, which will be our next category is guilty pleasure. So this one is interesting for everyone, because I think I found, at least in the last show, that it means different things for different people. So what did you bring for guilty pleasure?
Well, so I struggled with this one a little bit because, I mean, for me, guilty pleasure is like something that, I don't know, people might look down on you for like liking, but you like it anyway, screw them. And to kind of say that I think a lot of the stuff I try and read, I think a lot of people like, so I don't feel guilty about liking it.
Yeah.
So I kind of struggled because a lot of the stuff, like say, I don't think people would bat an eyelid at, but I think this one I picked might kind of some people probably don't agree.
What?
Yeah.
He's really bringing the memes on this one. Wow.
So Doomsday
real
Clock.
quick. Not that one. Not that one. I was gonna say hi. Hey Shane. Sorry I'm late, guys.
Shane.
No worries. KFC gravy is my guilty pleasure. That's for another stream. Doomsday Clock, if anyone doesn't know, there was like a memer guy going around always saying that Doomsday Clock sucks and would start shit in comments of all these videos. And so it's pretty funny
I
that you
think we
picked
had the
this.
same guy turn up in a couple of our Mad Dog chats.
Oh yeah, he came around to
Yeah.
a bunch of people in the US too and would just
Yeah.
show up and just say DC or Doomsday Clock sucks, you know, that kind of stuff. So I have never read Doomsday Clock. So please
Cool.
enlighten me on why this is your guilty pleasure and why I should read it.
I mean, so I wouldn't say this is like a great book either, and it's not one of my favorites, but I still think it's worth reading, and I think I will reread it. So I love Watchmen, and I know this is meant to be like the kind of true sequel in comic book form to Watchmen or whatever, but I don't think it really is that. I think this is a Superman story in disguise. It's a Superman story, and it's a bit of like a meta DC universe story about just why Superman is important to comics and DC. And I think that's what I get out of this more than just the ties to Watchmen. And I think there's a lot more to it than people kind of give credit for. When you kind of look at it as a Watchmen sequel, it fails. But there's still something really interesting here that it does. And I don't think people give it enough credit for that side of it. And it's a bit overlong. It's a bit dense compared to what it probably could be. But I know that's probably a side effect of it trying to be a Watchmen sequel as well, because Watchmen's very dense. So obviously they, like Jeff Johns does his best Watchmen impersonation, trying to write this. And it's interesting just how much stuff you've got packed into this book. But not all of it's great. There's some really good stuff in here though, and as a whole it kind of fails, but I still feel like there's a lot here to like. And yeah, I mean, I've only read it the once, but there's no way I could unpack all of this in one read. So I'm going to read it again. And yeah, I think it just gets a bit of a bad reputation, really. And the artwork as well. Gary Frank is amazing, and his version of Superman is my Superman. So
that's awesome, and I think you hit it right on the head with this. Is something that maybe not everyone loves, or is kind of hotly contested, or there's two opinions about it, but you enjoy it. And like you said, it may not be the best book, but you enjoy reading it. And that's, at the end of the day, I mean, why we all read comics is because we enjoy it. Real quick, I want to shout out Highland G. Hey, guys, sorry I missed the start. No problem, man. Thanks for joining us. Doomsday Clock sits good on the shelf for sure. I know that. Is that the absolute version, or is that just a deluxe?
No, this is just this is like, in fact, if you go watch my first video that I ever did, this is what I filmed. So I did like a bit of an overview of this kind of two standard size hardcovers in a slipcase, and yeah, they've not done like a deluxe edition of it yet, and yeah, I can see them probably going the absolute route. Maybe.
So those are normal size. They're not oversized. Okay.
No.
All right.
So you can see there. That's oversized. It's a bit smaller.
Okay. That's just when you were holding it up. I was like, that kind of looks like an absolute slipcase. So I was like, wait a minute, I didn't think they did that.
I wish. I would buy an absolute of this.
So the art is that good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's he's an incredible artist. And none of his work's been done in an absolute yet, so yeah,
I'm
definitely jump at that.
If I have any Gary Frank, now that I think about it, what are some other things that he's worked on?
So he's done a lot of the kind of Superman stuff with Jeff Johns. So there was some Action Comics stories he did with Jeff Johns. He did Batman Earth 1 as well with Jeff Johns.
Yes, yes, love that. Okay,
yeah,
there we go. So yeah, Earth 1 Batman. Yep, there we go.
Yeah,
no, I do love Earth 1 Batman. That's awesome. I will definitely have to check it out. Have you watched the Watchmen TV show?
Yeah, I loved it.
It was great. I absolutely loved it. The actors in it are fantastic. It was like one of those where like I wanted to watch it so bad, and I would watch like 3 episodes in a row, and then it would be like 2 in the morning, and I'd be like, I can't stay up any later, but I need to, I want to watch more, but I have to go to sleep type thing. But yeah, I loved it in the new interpretation, I guess. But
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that that can be my true sequel to Watchmen if I'm going to pick one rather than Doomsday Clock. I think this, like I said, it's hardly even a Watchmen story. It is, but it isn't. Like, this is more of a Superman or DC Universe story, I feel like. And yeah, that I would, the TV show, I would consider my like true Watchmen
are you
sequel.
reading Rorschach, the Black Label titles, or
No,
no?
the Tom King one. No. I'll see what people say about it when it's done, and then I'll decide.
That was my thought. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to take a chance on it yet. I'll see, and then if I like it, I'll buy the trade or a deluxe or
Yeah.
something, later.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see with that, but
But I
I'm
do
not
like a
ruling it
lot of
out.
I like a lot of Tom King. I like the Batman
Yeah.
Catwoman run that he's doing
Have you
right
read?
now.
I read his Mr. Miracle recently.
No, you told me about it in the
So good.
last hangout, and it's on the list. But lists are getting long.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I
um,
know everyone's adding to your list.
it's fine. That's why I did
Yeah.
this. I wanted to find more
Yeah.
stuff. So that's great. So let's move on to our next one, which is Hidden Gem, which I enjoy a lot because this could be something that no one talks about, not enough people talk about. It may be
Yeah.
just one of your favorite stories that you just doesn't fit anywhere else. So what do we have for Hidden Gem?
So I struggled with this one because there was too many things I wanted to pick, but
That
I wanted to go for something quite under the radar, that not a lot of people talk about, and I can see why with this one. It's Morning Glories from Image Comics.
okay. Morning
So
Glories.
yeah, I think there's, I want to say kind of 50 issues or 50 something issues of it
Wow.
out, but it's only, I think they said they're like halfway through the story, and their last issue came out in 2016. So I can see why it's not on a lot of people's radar because
So it's a
it's kind
saga
of,
situation where they've taken an extended break.
yeah. Well, I mean, I hope they've taken an extended break because I mean, so it's written by Nick Spencer, who at the minute is writing Spider-Man. So I'm just kind of hoping that he just needs to pay his bills, and he's like, right, I'll write some superhero stuff, and hasn't been kind of working on this as actively. But I hope he's still working on it behind the scenes or whatever. And I did see a tweet. The artist Joe Eisner, he was saying about how he drew his first page in Morning Glories in like ages. He tweeted it the other a few months ago. So I'm hoping that they're kind of working on bringing it back. So yeah.
Andy says, love the Oasis album. Yeah. And Highland G says, love that book, but I gave up on waiting on more hardcovers.
Oh yeah, I mean the hardcover, they've got enough. So they've got 3 deluxe hardcovers out, and they've got enough material for a 4th. But yeah,
I was going to say, with 50 issues, that's a considerable amount of issues. So there's got to be a good collective.
So I think what Nick Spencer has said is that they want to release the 4th when they start the series back up again. And this was like a year or two ago now that he said this. So I don't know, maybe it's been cancelled and he's just forgot about it since then. But it kind of always sounded like he's meaning to go back to it, which is what I'm really hoping for, because this series is like so, like it's kind of like the comic book version of Lost, where if you imagine, I don't know if you've seen Lost, but if you imagine they've just stopped watching, imagine if you only saw half of it and they cancelled it, and you didn't get like the resolution to a lot of the stuff, and it would be like that. So it would be a real detriment to what is there if they didn't go any further with it, because there's so many mysteries and cliffhangers and all kinds of stuff that just you're like, well, what's that about? And if they don't answer it, it's just going to leave all these threads dangling. And
I've seen Morning Glories, and I've seen it on lists of like things to check out. But what is the plot? What is going on? Because I don't know anything about it.
So it's basically there's a school called the Morning Glory Academy, and it starts with I think there's these 6 kind of teenagers who they all get into this school, and they go there, and it's a bit of like a weird school, and it's kind of like a school you kind of stay at or whatever, like a boarding school. And each one of them kind of, so they're all kind of really fleshed out characters for a start, but they're all a bit different, but they're all meant to be a bit kind of special or gifted or whatever. And they've got into this school, and it's, it's completely, when they get there, they just find out it's completely crazy. Like everything is a bit like not what it seems. And all the staff are like real weirdos. And, I can't sum it up very
That's
well.
fine. You don't want to spoil it, but I get it. Like it's. I just needed to know something about it because I've only seen the covers and that kind of stuff.
So
I was just getting ready to say this. Yoakim says it was Deadly Class before Deadly Class. I just read Deadly Class 1 or 2. 1 and 2. I can't remember how many I read, but that's what I was thinking.
It's got some crossover with that, but the whole. So this is a proper kind of like woven tapestry of like mindfuck twists and mysteries. So it's kind of like Lost in that sense, where it's just like every couple of pages you might have a like, what? And to the point where, so there's a website called Multiversity Comics that used to do a breakdown of each issue as it would come out. So they would go over what happened, and they would kind of tie it in with events that have happened in previous issues, and they'll go, oh, this thing happened, maybe we need to Google this other thing or this real life event or this thing over here. And they would go to town just theorizing, kind of like how people used to do when Lost came out.
Yeah. There was like websites where you could go and type in the numbers.
Same kind of thing. And to the point where what they started doing in later issues of this, they would actually publish, so that the articles on Multiversity Comics were done by a guy called Matthew Melikov. And I think Nick Spencer kind of got wind of the fact that he was doing these articles every issue, and they would print summarized versions of them in the actual back of the comic. So when you get to the end, there'd be a bit there waiting for you, and it would say, for the full article, go to the website or whatever. But it would be like,
he said that elements of 12 Monkeys with time travel, loops, and mystery. So there's time travel in this as well. Ooh.
Possibly, but you don't know. But yes, probably. But
this might be my new favorite. Like, I'm enjoying.
Honestly, like it's so like crazy. You can proper see like theories everywhere, and the more you read into it from other people as well. That's what I love about it. Is like half the stuff. Like I'll close an issue, and then half the stuff I'm thinking at that point, someone else might have a completely different take or whatever, and you'd go on to the internet and you'd see what people are saying, and have that real Lost vibe. And Lost is like one of my favorite TV shows. So
me too.
I always loved this comic.
I've watched it like 3 times, I think.
I've lost count of how many. One time I watched it twice in a year.
Wow, it's a dedication, because people don't remember, but like there are 24 episodes per season, and that's 7 seasons.
For the first 3. I think, no, it's because there's 6 seasons. The last 3 are a bit shorter.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's a lot of hours in Lost.
But I love
this is the closest thing to Lost that I've ever experienced. So if you like Lost, then definitely. I love it. And like I said, hopefully they're coming back to it.
So. I hope so. Phil, what's up, man? Fashionably late, talking about going into people's first videos. If you missed it on our impromptu,
he was a good sport.
By the time you get through hardcover 3, you wonder if there is even a school. It's very twist and turny. That's awesome. And Andy loves Phil. Of course, we all love Phil.
Love Phil.
Yeah, I literally just was last week thinking about restarting Lost again, and I'm like, it's such a time investment, because you gotta like stay on pace with that. You can't. It's not one of those ones where you can jump in and out. You gotta like 1 or 2 episodes a night or something like that. You gotta stay kind of on track. And I was contemplating starting it again.
Same,
but that's great. I'm in for Morning Glories. That's awesome. So last category is going to be favorite currently reading, and this is kind of hard because it could be anything that's coming out now. It could be something you're just getting into that you just found. It doesn't necessarily need to be something that's coming out. So
okay, good, because it's not coming out anymore.
Great, that's perfect.
Gotham Central. So I'm currently reading. I'm reading a couple of issues of this per night, or I was until this week. I've had a bit of a busy week, so I've slowed down. But I was reading a couple of issues a night for like the last couple of weeks. And yeah, I'm a bit late on the Gotham Central train, but yeah, I'm a massive fan so far. And I kind of can see what all the fuss is about. It's very highly acclaimed, and yeah, I think anyone who's read stuff like Criminal will like it. It's very similar. It's like a DC universe or like a Gotham version of Criminal. And obviously Ed Brubaker writes some of it as well. So that's half of it. But yeah, really digging it.
I am completely on board for Gotham Central. Ed Brubaker is somebody I'm new to, but I'm reading Killer Be Killed, like I mentioned, and I'm now like going to go down the Brubaker rabbit hole. But Greg Rucka, I have the first 5 Queen and Country. If you've never read that, that was like, I think his first comic that he wrote, but I found that randomly and loved it. So I'm totally on board with Gotham Central, and again, it's on my list. But I had a question for you. So it's written by Brubaker and Rucka, right? Do they co-write the whole thing, or do they switch off, or how does that work?
I think they kind of switch. So I think that the first stuff was Rucka, if I remember rightly, and then it kind of like he does an arc, and then it flicks to Brubaker. Is that right? Yeah. So, oh wait, no, the first 2 issues are co-written.
Phil says I've never read a bad Brubaker book, and I agree. Yeah, Ed Brubaker's awesome. Pulp is fire. Lots of love for Brubaker, obviously, but
yeah, I'm the same. I've never read a bad Brubaker book. He's just really consistent. So
and that's what I've heard. And like when I started with Killer Be Killed, it was literally just because everyone that has ever told me anything about Brubaker is like, just read anything. It's great. Anything is great. And like I had a preconceived notion about what it was, and it was wrong, but it was still great. Like I love it. It was crazy because Gotham Central is one of the ones that I know that Omni that you have is like apparently really hard to get, right? It's like out of print.
Apparently now, but I mean, this is at least the second printing of it, because they did printing before with the old DC logo on it, so I know they've at least reprinted it once. So I think it will get another reprinting. So
and so with my channel, I'm custom binding books, and so one of the ones that I looked at was buying Gotham Central in singles and binding them myself. But now I'm looking at it like that's a lot of issues. I might break it up because I don't know how many. Do you know how many issues were in the Gotham?
I think it was
Central?
around 40 something. Is that right?
So I could maybe split it up into 20 and 20. Yeah, I could do 2 volumes myself, but even the singles,
40. So
yeah. Even the singles are kind of expensive on eBay over here. So, I mean, I might have to do, a portion of them at once. And then, but I have heard so many good things about Gotham Central. And I mean, it makes, as far as I know, it's just the Gotham City PD following them around, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of loosely ties into stuff that might, like Batman might pop up, or Mr. Freeze is there in one of the first stories. And it's kind of like, they're just kind of part of the story, like a very small part, if anything, and it's more about how the case as a whole happens to fall upon the police department and their job and their reaction to this thing that happened in this world where Batman's running around at night, or Mr. Freeze is kind of causing havoc or whatever. So it's very kind of like the other side of the story it's very grounded still, even with all the superhero stuff in the background. It's very much like Criminal in that way, where it's just about this kind of bunch of normal people who are just trying to solve, the crime, or, catch criminals or whatever. And it's in the DC universe, but it's very grounded. So
that's why I like it. Highland G says they wrote different shifts.
I didn't notice that. That's cool. It's probably going to
That's
smack me
such
in
a
the
cool
face how obvious
concept.
that is.
That's
Yeah,
such a cool concept, though, that you would have two different writers write the two, because like if you think about it, they're going to have different
yeah, different staff
managers or
role.
what
Yeah,
captains or whatever, and like day shift and night shift are going to be two different. That's so cool. um Phil says he's only read a few record titles and I love them. I love Queen and Country. It's if no one has read it, but it's like a British spy agency thriller. It's all black and white, so it was like one of Greg Rucka's first titles. I only have the first 5 trade paperbacks, but I think there's 8 total, or maybe 10. I'm not sure, but Andy says haven't read Kill or Be Killed, but it's on the list.
that's a great book. Yeah.
I've read the first 2, and his character work, I think, is really what hit me. Like, you feel like these characters are real, and I think that really, like, the art is not splashy or flashy, but it's gritty and it fits the story. But his writing makes you like really invested in the characters. You feel like they are real people, and that's what really grabs me, especially on Kill or Be Killed, and what I'm hoping with other Ed Brubaker titles.
I mean, it's the same with this. So like every one of these detectives or whatever, they feel real. And try and find. So the art as well is it's not flashy. It's not. So this is Michael Lark. So I don't know if you can see
I'll
that very well.
you.
But it's just very much kind of like, it's just people
it's
walking around,
noir.
or people in. Yeah, it's kind of Criminal Light. It's a bit like Sean Phillips' vibe, the way it's kind of laid out. But so that's what kind of makes it in my head feel quite a lot like Criminal.
So is this the first time you're reading through it?
Yeah, I've never read it before. So I'm not very far in. I'm probably like, I don't know, 11, 12 issues in, something like that. I've read the first couple of arcs and really loving it. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to get through it.
Here we go. Everyone needs to read Velvet, and Velvet, another one I want to read. Yeah, like that's the thing.
It's on my list.
When I started getting down the Brubaker rabbit hole, everyone's like, just read everything because everything is good. Like no one ever is like, yeah, that's a bad Brubaker story. I didn't like that. Everyone's like, well, I like this one better, but I like this one better. But they're all good. Like there's no bad ones. It's just,
I mean, yeah, even the new stuff that's coming out, like the Pulp story and the Reckless stuff, like I've read them. They're really good, especially Pulp, because that's tiny, like page wise. Like it's not a very big story, and they do
like 90
so much.
Pages, I think.
Yeah, so much ridiculously small like that, and they've done so much in those 90 pages that it feels a lot bigger than that. Like I'm so shocked at how they've told such a concise story.
It's amazing to have that sort of power of your craft. You know what I mean? Like that you can do that, because that's what I've yet to read Pulp, but I know that like Phil and Scott and everyone on the Nerd Herd, that they checked that out and they absolutely loved it, and they said the same thing, that it's such a small amount of pages for you to really give a shit about the story. Like that's to me, that's the best part, is like I need to give a shit about the story, whether it's the characters, whether it's what's happening, the plot, or the stakes or whatever, but I need to care about it to really like it. And they said it's amazing that it's only like 90 pages, but you really give a shit about these characters and what happens to them. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, they're just masters of their craft at this point, and they're a great team. Like there's a reason that they just churn stuff out together. And I
didn't know this. Fun fact: Philip was a fill-in for Lark on Scene of a Crime, and then went on to work with Brubaker. Okay, I cannot not read Scene of a Crime without thinking of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. If you've ever seen that, you've never seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall? Oh my god. Well, anyway, there's she plays like a fictitious like CSI show, and it's called Crime Scene of the Crime, and they're like making fun of CSI.
Okay.
And so every time I see Scene of the Crime, I think of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But
no, never seen it. Sorry.
It's a great comedy, stupid but really fun. That's besides the point. But Adam, this has been absolutely fantastic. I have had so much fun. you have brought up books that I love or that I want to continue reading, and you brought up some new ones, especially Morning Glories. And I mean, I'm down for any Brubaker anytime now that I've read a few of them. So I super appreciate your time, super appreciate you hanging out. Thank you to the chat for everyone for hanging out with them. Oh, here's a good one. Best Brubaker book I've read is Low Life. I have not heard of Low Life.
Low Life. No.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah, thanks for having me on as well.
No.
Just
Hey, my pleasure.
I like having to think about coming up with these lists, so that's been a great little challenge. So yeah, nice one.
It is. I am happy that this has made you think a little bit and think about your collection, because I think that's something that we all collect a lot, but maybe you don't really go back and reflect on your collection or think about, hey, if someone came to my house and said, let me read the best book ever or whatever, you know, which one would you give them? And that kind of stuff is something that I think about or like to have, sort of thought experiments on. So I really appreciate your time, and me and you have gotten to know each other pretty well over the last couple of weeks, just hanging out, and it's been fantastic. If anybody wants to follow you, shout out all your social media, all your YouTube, everything.
Yeah, well, my YouTube's been a bit inactive. I've been a bit, I've had a few things going on. So yeah, but I do have the YouTube channel, just Comic Bound, and I'm on Instagram as well, comic_bound. But yeah, I'll hopefully get around to doing some videos again soon. I'm a bit late on my haul, but that'll be the next one I think that'll come out. And
awesome.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's important to talk about as well. Is just, we talked about starting a YouTube, but also maintaining a YouTube. Have fun. If you're not having fun, don't let it weigh you down of like, oh man, I have to put out a video, that kind of stuff. I think that is a lot of people get into that kind of mindset and don't worry about it. Just have fun, So.
I mean, yeah, half the fun is coming on stuff like this and getting to chat to you. I do the Mad Dog chats now. I think the next one's coming up is the 23rd, I think it is. I want to say 23rd. Yeah, Friday the 23rd. So I think that's the date we've got penciled in. And
awesome.
Yeah, if you want to check us out, that'll be on the Mad Dog
for
Comics
sure. Yeah, check out Mad
YouTube
Dog.
channel.
Check out everybody that's been in the chat. Everybody that's been in the chat has been great people to check out all of their channels. If anybody wants to join after this show, every show we're going to have a hangout backstage. Send me a message on Instagram, and I will definitely send you a link to hang out. But Adam, as I said, I really appreciate you taking the time. It has been super fun. Guys, we'll be hopefully back next week. I don't have a guest scheduled at the moment, but I kind of play it loose. We'll see what we have going on, and working on a couple for next month as well. Hopefully something cool for next month. I get my next COVID vaccine at the end of the month, so I'm going to take that week off because I'm not sure if I'm going to be feeling terrible or not, because some people feel awful afterwards. But I appreciate everyone watching. Like I said, hit me up on Instagram, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.